I told him we're gonna have to fire him first.
He's hiding back there.
Oh, there he is.
I'm ready.
Wait for Nick to get back up here. Back here socializing. Hey, guys.
I feel like somebody should sit down there or all lopsided.
That's okay.
We got the one lady over here by herself. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call the July 6th meeting of the Springdale School Board to order. I appreciate y'all that are here, being here. It's a beautiful day out there. This is, there's not a long agenda, but there's some really good things on the agendas. I don't think it's gonna take a long time, but we appreciate y'all being here. First order of business is gonna be the Pledge of Allegiance, which I will lead since we don't have a student of the month this month. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Dr. Cleveland, how are we on our agenda? Is there any changes or updates or? Okay. Board, I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Creek and a second by Mr. Bell to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that brings us to our consent agenda, which includes our out-of-district transfers, last month's meetings, a couple other things there. Are there any questions about any of those items? Anything that we need to address before we approve them? So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Emerson, a second by Mrs. Creek to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Cleveland now. He's got a bunch of really neat stuff to go over with us.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. As you know, Mr. Hayes had his last day after the last board meeting. We had hired a wonderful Miss Stacy Hopkins, who's in the back, and so she's our new CFO, but it did leave the deputy position open. And so kind of huddled with the team and offered the opportunity to be deputy to Dr. Marcia Smith. I'd like to invite her to the podium, and she's going to introduce two new associates in just a moment. One associate's out of town, but we'd just like to welcome Dr. Smith as deputy. She is a phenomenal human, better educator than she is a human, and quite frankly, she's a good human.
How do you take that? How'd you take that?
Well,
He's my boss,
well,
like,
If you ask anybody, I don't know if you saw the district posts, and I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but the comments that
Oh, yeah,
were
she's
all
loved.
about Dr. Smith. She
Yeah.
is a beloved human, not just in Springdale, but across the state. And we are very fortunate. In fact, I'm thankful that she agreed to be our deputy.
Good choice.
So, Dr. Cleveland Board, I want to thank you. This is really a great opportunity, and I appreciate your trust. I also want to say that my goals is to continue the work that Mr. Jones, Dr. Cleveland, and Mr. Hayes did. They did phenomenal work, and my goal is to just to kind of continue that work. I want to take a minute, though, and just share this. We have had a great opportunity this year to work with a lot of different districts across the state. Dr. Cleveland and the CNI team have gone to Little Rock numerous times. And when I think about this position, I also think about the board. And I think about Dr. Cleveland and the people that we have an opportunity to serve with. And I can tell you without a doubt, the work that you do in our district is second to none. Because we hear about the questions you ask us, the communication that you have with us, the things that you seek to understand, the welfare of our kids, the success of our kids. I don't know if that's everywhere, but I can just tell you when Dr. Cleveland, asked me about this position, I thought any other place, might not be the same answer, but in Springdale, it's definitely a yes, because I know we've got the backing of the board who has the right focus on the kids. Additionally, I want to say thank you to Dr. Cleveland specifically for this. For the last few years, as you guys know, it's been an interesting time in education, but we've got a lot of really interesting times ahead. And as I listen to Dr. Cleveland regularly in our meetings, he's always focused on what do we need to do to prepare our students. And he's been working nationally, he's been working at the state level, he's been working at the local level, and with a lot of different community partners to really ensure that we have the things in place for our students to be successful. He was in my office just yesterday, and he was talking specifically about unique pathways for individual students and naming students who would be great for particular things that he wants to put in place. And I think it sums it up best when I think about where we are with education. If we're going to be successful in education, we have to think 5 years out, because we can't prepare for tomorrow. We have to prepare for the future ahead. And I think Dr. Cleveland's vision's spot on, and I know you as the board support him. So I'm thrilled about this position. I'm thrilled about working with Dr. Cleveland. We have an amazing administrative team. And as you know, you heard about Ms. Tischer and Ms. Fink. Ms. Fink is not here. I know she wishes she could be, but Ms. Tischer is here. And so I just think he's created a great team, and I appreciate that. I also want to give a big shout out, because the work doesn't stop with us. It's with our administrators, and the work that they do in the buildings are like beyond awe of what they do. So I'm thrilled to be in Springdale and under Dr. Cleveland's leadership in the work that we're going to be doing this year. So at this time, do you guys have any questions?
No, we're glad you're here. I'm not sure if Ms. Fink really is unhappy not being
Yeah.
here. So she's in a
We'll be
great
getting
place.
texts through this thing. I wish I was there. And then she'll be putting not. So, I'm going to have Ms. Tischer come forward. She was named as Associate Superintendent, and I am thrilled. The work that she has done has been amazing, and I'm glad that she's got an opportunity to move the work forward as well. So, thank you.
Well, good evening, or late afternoon, I guess. Dr. Cleveland Board, thank you. I am just, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. I feel, as you all know, even though I wasn't born in Springdale, as a professional, I was born in Springdale Public Schools. My whole career, 24 years, starting as an MAT intern at Springdale High, teacher, instructional facilitator, assistant principal, assistant superintendent for secondary, and now moving up into associate. I'm overwhelmed. And Springdale is home to me. This district is my home. This work is what fuels me every day. And we have a district supported by you, first of all, leading this work and continuing to say across the whole state and the region, Springdale, everyone knows Springdale, and it's because of you and the support that you provide to us and our faculty and our staff and our students and our families. But the work is hard right now, and there is no time such as this as to help come alongside and not only shepherd the work, but support the amazing people in this district. We have amazing employees, families, and community that constantly rallies around us. And so for me to be able to continue this work, it's just an honor, and I'm filled with gratitude. And I know Ms. Fink is too. When we found out that we were going to be associate superintendents, I just can't explain to you how ecstatic we are. And we approach this work with positivity and enthusiasm, and we just really roll our sleeves up and get in there with our people, and we enjoy it. We love every minute of it. So thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you. All right.
Good work.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Hutchinson and Board, we've had a few other personnel changes. Kelly Bortz went to be an assistant superintendent of sorts in Bentonville, which left a principal position open. We hired Miss Amy Harrison. We hope to recognize her in August, if that's okay with you. We also had Miss Betsy Barker moved over to SHS as assistant principal. We'll also recognize her. We do have a young man who you may know, but is a newcomer to administration. I'd like for Miss Chelsea Jennings to introduce, if that's okay. New assistant principal over at Sonora Middle.
Good evening. So when this position opened up, my team sat down and kind of made a list of what we were looking for in a new assistant principal, and we wanted someone who could connect with kids, who would be a good role model, who understood and could support the PLC process, who would be committed to the school for a while and the position, and who would just be a good fit for our team. And Mr. Rhett Barrett hit all those boxes, and so we are really excited to welcome him to Sonora Middle School. He's been at Hellstern for 17 years, and so he knows middle school inside and out at this point, and so we hope to learn from some of the things that they're doing at Hellstern and welcome him over to Sonora across town. So.
Thank you, Chelsea. Appreciate that. Ms. Tischer took everything that I was going to say too, which is that, I've taught in Springdale for 17 years in my MAT as well. And so I love middle school. It has been an honor to work in Springdale schools as an MAT intern, as a teacher, now as an IF, or recently as an IF at Hellstern, and now as an AP at Sonora. So I'm super excited and honored. So thank you, Dr. Cleveland. Thank you to the board for giving me this opportunity. Just the past couple of weeks, I've already gotten to meet some of our kids through a basketball camp here in Springdale, and it's been super fun to already start to build those relationships and see those kids. And anyway, so Chelsea, thank you as well. My good friend Brett Unger was in this position a few years ago, and he kept telling me that I needed to move out to Sonora, and I was like, man, that's a long drive. I don't know. And he's like, no, you're going to love it. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to do this and to take on a new leadership position like you talked about in Springdale. I love Springdale schools, and I love middle schools. And so this is truly an honor. So thank you all so much.
You have somebody important here with you?
I do. This is my beautiful wife, Jen. She came up here to support me. So she and I have been talking about this, praying about this for several years now. And this felt like the right time to take that step. So thank you, guys.
Good to have you there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We also had a tremendous hire, probably saw on social media. I'd like to introduce Coach Fempel, to introduce a young man who's probably a Hall of Fame coach. He's going to coach at HAR-BER.
We're excited to announce the appointment of our new HAR-BER High School softball coach, Randy Osnes. We've got to take a deep breath on this one right here. Coach Osnes has an impressive coaching record through his 25-year career, including 3 state championships, 6 state runner-up titles, 21 conference championships. Take a breath. 14 conference coach of the years, the National Federation of High School National Coach of the Year in 2018, the National Federation of High School State Coach of the Year in 2018, an overall record of 592 and 158, and has one of the rare cases where he has his own softball field named after him on top of everything else, which there's not many coaches walking around with that title right there. So want to welcome Randy Osnes to the board, and Dr. Cleveland.
Thank you very much. With all that being said, I'll be honest with you, over 25 years, I've been very fortunate to have great players. And not only great players, but great assistant coaches. And that's been huge in my career. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know everybody here over the last few days, or actually last week and a half. I met Coach Fimple at McDonald's, of all places, and we spoke, and he's a great recruiter. And I think he's a great hire for this district. And Coach Wood, everybody I've dealt with, Dr. Cleveland, great conversations. I know there was two things that was mentioned many times over. Number one, take care of the girls, and number two, beat Bentonville. And, and that is definitely the plan. I just want to say thank you very much. Very excited about the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Coach Osnes is going to walk out here in a minute. I'm going to walk him out. He's got to be somewhere in just a second. But we'll also have a head volleyball at Central Junior High. We'll announce that here in the next couple of days. I want to thank the board, Dr. Cleveland, the administration team. Really look forward to watching Randy and his team play. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Fimple.
Good luck.
It's hard not to get enthusiastic with Coach Fimple's positivity. He is just awesome. Enjoy him. Okay, I know several of you have been curious about the numbers of employees that we've either had to retire or leave. So far, I think Ms. Smalling and I have visited with about 142 people. I think that's the number that I came up with today that we've hired on. We've actually visited with more than that, but some of them either didn't accept the job because of personal reasons or couldn't find housing and had to stay where they were. So it's been quite a challenge for people coming in, us trying to hire, and not be able to find housing. It's become a real issue. And I know several of you have also had some of those issues in trying to recruit people to your community, or to our community and your work. So
Maybe that could be a secondary reason to buy all these houses.
it's an excellent secondary reason.
We'll have our own little community.
Met with the chamber this morning, some gentlemen there, and we were talking about, I'd love to buy a hotel. I mean, I would love to buy a hotel for us to be able to at least temporarily house some people to come in to work as teachers. It is becoming a tremendous challenge, and I know our brothers and sisters in other communities are having the same issue, and that's a real problem. So Northwest Arkansas, it's not unique to it, but it is very difficult here. But anyway, that being said, we have hired some tremendous people. I'm very thankful and positive about the quality of character that we're hiring. So Coach Osnes is a prime example of the kind of person coming in. So we've done pretty well. That's my personnel report. We'll have a full report hopefully in August. I know Mr. Oldby usually asks me about that, so I'll get that early, okay? So we'll try to get that done. Other than that, unless you have any questions about personnel, I think we're in pretty good shape so far. Now keep in mind, we usually hire between 150 to 170, so we're right on par. Okay. Next would be our back-to-school activities and events. I'd like to ask Dr. Smith, Ms. Tischer, if Ms. Tischer is available. Are you part of this? Or just okay?
All right, well, it's always interesting when people bump into me during the summer and say, aren't you glad you get the summer off? And I'm like, well, we've got a lot of stuff happening. As you know, last month we talked about our summer school programs, which occurred throughout our district, and we had a lot of those. Our principals work really hard, and they start back in just a very few short weeks. So the outline of what you have, I've put one at each of your places, but this is really the 4 weeks prior to the students coming back, and I'm just going to quickly go over the activities. You may have received a few emails from me today, putting some slots on your calendar. I think those were the ones that you attended in the past, and so I wanted to make sure that you have those. But on July 17th, our administrators come back, and you'll notice they'll be in their buildings the first 4 days. And during those days, they will still be hiring people, and they'll be looking at their student numbers and providing different types of ongoing professional development. I know we have some back-to-school kindergarten activities that are happening in the elementaries. But on Friday, July 21st, we'll bring them all together at DTSOI in the East Cafeteria. And you'll notice that we do have location changes. Most of them will be in the East Cafeteria at DTSOI. We've kind of outgrown some of our spots, and so that's where we'll be. But during this day, it will be the C&I team. If you'll look up here, the theme this year is Yellow Brick Road, but with that comes the word home. So we're going to have our theme that will be highlighting that. The C&I team will kind of outline what this means in terms of leadership and culture and moving forward for the district. On the 24th, 25th, and 26th, the administrators will be out of the building as they will be at the AAEA conference in Little Rock. When they come back on July 28th, this is the big day. So, Mr. Hutchinson, I know you normally will speak at this one. So this is the day that Dr. Cleveland gives his set for all of the administrators in the district. In the morning between 8 and 8:30 it'll be, or excuse me, between 8 and lunchtime, Dr. Cleveland will kind of do the set for the day, the vision, where we're going, what's happening in the world around us. And then in the afternoon, the central office team will give highlights in their areas. It will be Ms. Clay, Mr. Miller, Mr. White, Mr. Donnell, Mr. Jones, and Ms. Hopkins. They'll all do a little part with the team and what's happening in those different divisions. So that is a really important day for everybody. So hopefully you guys will be able to come, if not for just a few minutes in the morning. Then on the third week, we have our back-to-school coaches will come in for a meeting on July 31st. You'll notice the admin are back in their buildings on the rest of that week. There are some things that are happening sporadically throughout that week. We do have some information that we can provide according to the ELPA data. At this point, I don't know if we will have any state data yet, but they can go deeper with the ELPA data that they have in. On August 3rd and 4th, it's new teacher orientation, and we're doing it slightly different this year. On August 3rd, we're going to do a Zoom set in the morning so that those teachers can stay in their buildings, and those principals within the buildings will then help orient those teachers. But on August 4th, it's going to be a different thing than we've ever done before. Every year we do the Innovation Institute. This year, because there were so many pressing needs with professional development, we felt that by adding I2 into that mix, it would be hard for people to attend all the different events. So we've kind of taken the Innovation Institute and tied it to our new teacher orientation. So in the morning at Don Tyson School of Innovation, we'll have all the individuals that Dr. Cleveland just mentioned. They'll come in at 8 o'clock, and Dr. Cleveland will be able to do his set with them as well during that time, his vision for what education looks like. He'll welcome them. As you know, he interviews every single new person. So when he talks about that 142, every single one of them has come through his office and had a meeting with him. Then in the afternoon, right after his meeting, we're doing a rotation of sorts where new teachers have options of some PD. One of the requirements for new teachers is to have a set of 3 hours, of which Mr. Donnell will be doing that at multiple times during the day. So teachers will be able to select what they do, and we'll be throughout DTSOI going to different locations at that time. So new teacher orientation, 3rd and 4th. Then on August 7th, new teachers come back. So we're excited to have our teachers back. On August 7th and 8th, they will be in their buildings. On August 9th, 10th are the big days that I know you participate in. On August 9th, that is our Chamber Day. The Chamber has been working very closely with us, and they're going to do their activities in the morning, and we'll have 2 groups. One of the groups will go to the PAC at HAR-BER with the Chamber event, followed by working with the Chamber out at the vendor fair. and then the other group will swap places. And there'll also be food in the cafeteria on that day. In the afternoon, they'll be back in their buildings. So that's kind of a big day with the chamber. And then on August 10th, we ask for feedback at the end of every year. So normally, Dr. Cleveland speaks on Friday, and then we have our specialty meeting. But he asked us to reach out to different people and say, what do they think about this? And so we took what they gave us and we changed. So on August 10th, we will be doing the specialty meetings in the morning. And then in the afternoon between 1 and 3:30, that is Dr. Cleveland's time with all the teachers across the district. And that will be at SHS PAC. And then on August 11th, that will be a full day for teachers to work in their classroom. They asked to have that day moved to right before they come back on Monday. So we think it's going to be an amazing time. As you can see, there's a lot of different events, a lot of different things. You're invited to all of them. So I want to extend that invitation. If you would like me to send more invitations and fill up your calendar, I'll be more than happy to do that as well. Any questions about any of the events? Okay. All right. Well, just know that our theme is Yellow Brick Road, so when you show up to any of these events, just keep that theme in mind.
Marshall, I have a question.
Yes.
On our printout, it's not
Yes.
there, but on August 4th, it says to send it.
Oh, no. No, sorry. This is what we send to all of our principals. So we are very fortunate in that we have a lot of community members that come in and feed during certain times. And so those are for principals.
Okay.
This is exactly what the principals
Well, I
get.
thought if we showed up, I wanted to make sure all these guys had their thank you notes.
Okay, please send thank you notes, or you can send them to me and I'll send them for you. Thank you.
Thanks for looking out for us, Debbie.
Yeah, we appreciate it. To do some little additional business, I seek board approval to purchase some properties. We have two resolutions in your packet to purchase 416 North Kansas Street and 104 South Thompson / 921 West Emma, and provided you with visual on those two pieces of property. The reason behind the additional piece of property, which is 416 North Kansas Street, is that we didn't know that house was going to be available, and we thought we might have enough, but this could help complete the block and also provide additional green space if we ever do build a future facility there. And currently, right now, we can use those properties, as Ms. Creek said. I think she said a little bit in a fun way, but actually, that is true, Ms. Creek. We are very challenged in trying to find, especially our young young adults that want to move to this area, homes, housing. So could be a possibility to rent some of those homes. So the good thing about those properties is they do generate income. Right now, each of those properties are generating about $1,100 a month. The ones that we've already purchased, the ones that are active are 404, 406, and 1106 Center. So that's $3,300 a month. The 416, right now, I'll call them mom and dad, the couple that live there want to move out east, I believe, to where their daughter lives. But they are working on trying to find a place. I believe it's secure, but it's going to take a little bit. And they've asked could they rent it for $1,000 a month until they move out. And we said yes. So we thought that would be appropriate and certainly fair. But it is a very nice home. They kept it in very, very nice shape. But until we have a mature plan, or through our 10-year master plan of what we'll do with that property, it makes a lot of sense to try to acquire the property as it comes available. So I don't know what property values are going to do over time. Mr. Emerson is a realtor, and he's told me if we bought these properties 5 years ago, we've been better off. And that's true. But in 5 years from now, Mr. Emerson, I don't know what pieces of property may cost. I just don't. So it appears that this would be a quality investment to expand our footprint on SHS. The other property is located on Emma Street. The other property that is being proposed is 1004 South Thompson, coupled with 921 West Emma Street, and that is where the current lock supply company is housed. The idea would be to purchase that property and secure it as ours. The family who owns it wanted a larger amount for the facility, but said they would accept 1.45 million for it if we would provide a gift letter up to the amount of the appraisal that's above. So they've done something really, really nice for us. They said they really didn't want to sell the property unless it was to the district. And part of the reason that I understand that they're selling it to the district is they don't live in Arkansas. And I think they live in another state, and it would be appropriate to divest properties that they own in our community. So they're doing that. And it's adjacent to our high school. It would provide us opportunity for additional parking that we desperately need around the Performing Arts Center and our new arena and area over at SHS. And it gives us the ability to expand our academic footprint should we need to. And it generates, I believe, currently $80,000 a year in lease payments, and that is up for renegotiation. So it gives us the ability to recoup some of our money over time and provides us expansion opportunity in the future. So. Did I do a good enough job explaining that?
Thanks for the pictures.
You're welcome. I pulled that from Washington County Data Scout, which I think is a great tool. So kudos to the assessor.
Okay. Do we need to do two separate resolutions, or
I
can we
think it would
combine?
be easier to do two,
Okay.
if that's appropriate, because I think we'll need one for the closing that wouldn't have.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 416 North Kansas Street.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. excuse me, by Mr. Emerson, and a second by Mrs. Creek to purchase the property at 416 North Kansas Street. All those in favor of doing that, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. That brings us to the Lock Supply Building there at 104 South Thompson / 921 West Emma.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, and Lock Supply is gonna stay indefinite,
It's undetermined.
undetermined.
Is it a year-to-year lease?
Could be. We haven't, I think it's up for renewal now, so it will be a
So we have an
conversation.
opportunity to understand.
What their
That would
long-term
be on
plans
our
are.
terms.
And quite frankly, Lock Supply is a great partner for us.
Oh, yeah.
So we enjoy their business and they've done a good job for us, and we have no ill will or negative intention at all with the company.
Any other questions?
No, I'll make a motion to purchase the said property at 104 South Thompson and 921 West Emma, as stated.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Olby, a second by Mr. Bell to purchase the property at 104 South Thompson and 921 West Emma. All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Well, that was not nearly as enthusiastic as the last one. Anybody opposed to that? All right. Got it?
I'd like to invite Ms. Hopkins to come to the podium. We've discussed property insurance, and I know many of you, that's your world, about what insurance is happening. But our school district has quite a shock in regard to the amount of property insurance we've been paying versus the amount of premium that we will be paying. And we thought it was important to really communicate with you all the position that we're in and try to get your guidance. Ms. Hopkins.
Okay, we received notification, good evening to everyone. We received notification kind of late this year. Generally, we get our binder for property insurance, usually the last week in May, first week in June. About a little over a week ago, we still had not received it. I had spoken with some of the other districts, and so I called APSIT, which is Arkansas Public School Insurance Trust. That's who we've had our insurance with for about the last 5 or 6 years. and was informed that, yes, there was going to be an increase. They had sent a email to Jeremy or to Mr. White and to Mr. Athey, notifying them and kind of giving all the reasons as to why we were going to see a large increase. Some of those, have to do with the recent supercell storms that we've seen. They assured us that it did not have anything to do with the damage that we've suffered here locally in Springdale. And they said that inflation for rebuilding, cost to rebuild has affected it, and that just the secondary market of getting insurers has tightened quite a bit. So I guess I did that thinking that that might soften the blow a little bit, but last year our annual rate was $898,616.58. This year, our premium is $2,314,407.45. I've spoken with many of the other districts that are also either insured with APSIT as we are or with ASBA. They're all seeing, I think that APSIT has had the highest increase, but they are seeing relatively comparable increases. We've reached out, Jack Trumper with Stevens. I worked with him when I was at my previous district. He reached out to me and said that he was unaware, but that Stevens Group also has an insurance division. And so we have sent them some information to see what kind of quote they can give us. The problem that we're bumping into is with the late notification. Obviously, our policy renewed on July 1st. The concession that the state gave us was that we could pay it in 2 payments this year for the first time, 1 payment due immediately, the second payment due in November. When we got the paperwork in this week, in fact, Mr. White just received it this week and forwarded it to me this morning, it says that, we're giving you this benefit to pay it in 2 separate payments. However, please note that the state is paying the full policy for the year up front. So basically, they're floating us for a time period. So we're not really in a position where we can pay for 6 months and then try to get a quote for the last 6 months. I spoke with a gentleman at another insurance agency that had in previous years, had insured Rogers School District. He doesn't anymore, but we kind of talked about what the rates that they were offering us through APSIT. He said that he would be very surprised if Stevens could come in lower than that. So we just kind of wanted to be transparent with the board as to the timing of when we received this information. Like I said, we just got our actual renewal policy in the mail. They mailed it out on the 30th. I was told that they were asked not to mail those early like they typically do. And so that's why we're here tonight discussing it. So, Dr. Cleveland, is there anything?
No, you explained it perfectly. I know that Mr. Hutchinson is on the School Board Association Executive Board, and they provide insurance, but they're not accepting additional requests from staff. And so, I don't know why, but.
We can't. Lloyd's of London won't let us take any more right now.
Gotcha.
Lloyd's of London does the state plan and they do ASBA's plan. So it's all underwritten by Lloyd's
Right.
of London. It's just that ASBA has taken a few increases over the years. So our increase was only about 120% versus the state, which was about 150 to 60% or more.
Or
So-
more, 150 to 170.
Yeah,
200
that's
plus,
200
yeah.
plus.
2.5
Yeah.
times higher.
Yeah,
So did the other districts receive their letters late like we did?
Yes.
they
everybody.
did,
Do you have
everybody.
an email that documents they were told to send that letter out late?
I don't, it was just relayed to me in a conversation on the phone, and I don't think that they would be willing to put it in writing.
No, I guarantee.
It wasn't the state's doing, it was Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London didn't give us the pricing until about 2 weeks ago, because every time a new storm rolled through, they were like, whoa, hang on, we're gonna refigure everything.
I can't
And-
imagine how they could wait until June 30th for a policy that takes effect on July 1st.
Did anybody talk to you about making a payment and then writing a new policy with someone else? And if we make a payment, then we would get refunded for any unused premium, right?
I think ordinarily, if you buy your homeowner's insurance or that type of thing, I think that is customary. The other school finance officers that I've spoken to have all said, you know, we're going to pay it this year and we're going to try to bid it out next year. I did speak, or in an email exchange, I know that Bentonville offered theirs out for bid a couple of years ago, and I don't think that they even got any bids on it.
There's nobody out there that can.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too, is there's not really anybody out there. And, you know, that basically everybody goes to the same underwriters, like Mr. Hutchinson just said. So, and they did say in the email that they sent, that Mr. White received, that APSIT had not increased their rates in a number of years. And so not only are they accounting for, I guess, the secondary market being tighter, but also for the inflation costs that they had not been passing along to us.
So the APSIT or whatever it's called, is that, who's the contact? Is there a broker that we go through?
We go through Randy Robinson at the state.
At the state?
Yes, and I actually, I spoke with Wiley, and his last name escapes me at the moment. Yes, that's it. And so, and one other thing that I did want to mention that, that Wiley brought up in our conversation, and is that right now our deductible has been $25,000 per occurrence. I think the industry is typically that it's 2% of the claim rate or something like that. And, you know, based on the claims that we had this past year, we probably would have been looking at about $1 million to $5,000 that we paid. We had the first occurrence on the tornado, and then when they came in and did the storm evaluation, they determined that the hail damage had occurred in two separate events, an older event and the one that happened currently. So we had to pay 2 deductibles on that. So, you know, that's another thing that I've been told, that it's not likely that if we did go to another underwriter, that they probably are going to go to revert to the 2% of the claim. In the current policy that they've sent us, they're going to change the wind hail damage to $250,000 per occurrence, and they just said all other perils would be $100,000 per occurrence. So they are increasing it, but it's not quite as much as what we would pay if we were having to do a percentage of our loss.
Ms. Hopkins, does that change in regard to the size of the district? Because $100,000 to a really large district isn't as much as $100,000 is to a really small district.
Right.
It's across the board.
I think it's across the board, Dr. Cleveland,
It's
which is.
really harmful to districts of.
Was the how much was the insured value increased? I know that they had to have increased our valuation by several $1 million.
I don't know that
Because
information.
that's part of why it went up, is they,
Right.
instead of being insured for, say, 900 million, maybe it's 1.2 billion or whatever. So
It's right at, the current insured rate is right at 1.1 billion. I think that's correct. I'm not sure what it was last
billion or
year.
billion?
Billion.
Billion, okay.
Mhm. And I'm not sure, last year I know that they did add a couple of, they added Rollins Elementary, and seemed like there was some additions that we had made to some of the other buildings that maybe had not been previously picked up. Mr. White said that they came up and spent a number of days going through all of our different buildings, locations, and looking at what the values were and occupancy rates and all that. What year do you mind? I don't know what year that happened.
It was the first year when we switched over to this company. They came up and spent several weeks just going through and doing an audit of all the property. They added in like monument signs, electronic signs, awnings, just everything that's attached to that facility.
And we talked about what, if it would be a difference if we took those types of items off, that if that as a singular item was damaged, that we probably would not file a claim on, because it would be a relatively low value. But when we were speaking with Stevens, they said, keep all those things on there, because if you have if the whole area is damaged, you want to be sure and pick up all those smaller items on that claim.
Raising your deductible in essence is done what you're talking about, because unless it's $1 million now or 100 whatever thousand, you're not going to file a claim anyway.
Correct.
So
So does the new $100,000 and $250,000 deductible, is that starting July 1st.
Started July 1st as well.
Even with the 250%.
Kind of a double whammy.
Yeah, there's other factors going on behind the scenes that probably don't get into here, but there's politics as usual.
Right.
Some of the stuff, so.
And I've had a couple of different people that have alluded to that, but they have not gone into any explanation of it and just kind of said that that may be forthcoming. We may see some changes with that.
I think this substantial impact, not just to us, but to every district in the state, does have the attention of our legislature. And I would imagine our governor is also versed in the situation. So I don't know if there will be any movement to help in any way, but there could be, because we are all part of their communities.
I wouldn't plan on it, but.
I understand. Just trying to be hopeful.
So is there any action on this, or is it just,
No, sir,
we're
it was-
just telling the gloom and doom? And
Conversational and informational, so you would know and our community would know. Just put it out there. Thank you. Ms. Hopkins, Mr. Watt. Next, Board, the LEARNS Act will be in full swing here in the next few days. But part of the law that changed this year had to do with resolutions for school choice and transfers. And the aspect of Act 731 resolution is that if we have a lot of kids that come and go, right? You see those every month. The law says you have to evaluate each particular student. So if we've had 30 to 40 before, you would have to have a motion, a second, and a vote on every individual student. This resolution would allow me to do those, accept those, and then report to you at a board meeting. So you wouldn't have to have a vote on each individual child. We can go with each individual child if you want to, it is fine. I just thought this might help in your work. You're here hours and hours most board meetings, so that could be a substantial help. Just a thought. It's up for conversation, however you want to do it.
is that different than what we're doing right now?
What we're doing right now is you're doing them as a block.
In the consent agenda, it's all at one time.
This would
Just
be,
telling us that it's okay to do it, that's what we're doing.
No, this way, he's gonna be in charge of accepting all of them, and then he'll report to us every month.
But we're not, just put it as a note.
We're not approving it, you're just letting us know.
This meeting.
yes. I would still put it,
32 transfer in.
yeah, I would put it in the consent agenda as my report
I got you.
Okay.
of the numbers of, the same report you've been
So
doing.
not much change.
It's not much, it's just a
Okay.
nuance.
Okay.
But I already have to sign it. If there's a student that's participating in extracurricular activity, I have to sign what they call a CSAP form anyway. I have to sign it, I don't have a choice. So those I don't report to you, but I could add that too.
I don't see any reason not to do it that way, because I don't wanna spend an hour going through 40 different names and
It could be
motions
that
and,
way, yeah.
you know.
You know, for me, the kids and families that would have to wait until the next board meeting to get an answer, and this way they could get an answer much faster.
I didn't think about that aspect, Mr. Creek, that's correct.
Yep. Okay. I mean, we give you the authority to hire and fire our employees.
Just hire.
Staff.
Just hire.
So, I mean, I think you can handle
Okay.
allowing
So
kids to come in and
does-
out of our district,
So
so.
that would be both in and out of the district?
Yes, ma'am. But I would certainly provide a report every month.
I make a motion that we authorize our superintendent to approve out-of-district transfers under the new Act 731 resolution.
Second.
Who's that? Clint? Okay. We have a motion by Mrs. Creek and a second by Mr. Bell to approve the Act 731 resolution regarding transfers. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to that? Okay.
If they're opposed, they're going to sit
That's
here
right, they're
and
gonna sit there and do it
approve them.
themselves.
Okay, well, thank you, I'm happy to do that for you. Mr. White, there's been a lot of activity over the last couple of years in transportation. This year, I'm happy to say that Kevin Conkin is super excited that he's not having to come tonight and talk to you about how difficult it is to our bus drivers. We still have that issue, but we have some really new technology that you've provided opportunity for us to purchase. And I wanted Mr. Block to be able to give you a transportation update.
Yeah, so, hello, Board, Dr. Cleveland. First, I wanted to thank all the bus drivers and the transportation team because last year they were able to consistently run all the routes without any cancellations. So, over last year, we started installing a lot of new technology on the buses. This includes the bus routing software that gives the drivers a turn-by-turn directions, and there's a student tracking portion that will also communicate with parents. And that's via email or text, whichever they sign up for. If they want it at all, they don't have to sign up for it. It also includes a fleet management software, and that is for the bus maintenance and the tracking of the parts that are in our shop. And it also allows the driver to be able to sign in and out when they're on a route or a field trip, so we know they've got there and they're leaving. We started testing a lot of the routing equipment the last semester of school, and then we've used the district summer school as a tool to test all of the student tracking. Because we had fewer kids on the buses, it allowed us a little more time to get that working. And then, parents will start receiving letters of consent via email starting in late July. This notification will come from Transact, which is the company that has all the software. And it'll contain the student's stop location, the time of the stop, and then that's when it'll allow the parents to sign up for the notification if they want it. And then we bought a text package so they can get it via email or text, because after talking to a lot of the principals, a lot of parents don't have personal email, they text. So we bought that extra little module. And then also this year, the plan is to run the same routes as we did last year, and with the addition of a couple new subdivision stops on subdivisions that have went in and have kids present. And then as far as the drivers, we've had about 5 retire. We've hired 2 new ones. We still have 5 full-time sub-drivers that will return next school year. And then Kevin told me, in the past, normally in late July or early August is when we start getting interest in bus driving. They usually wait till school's getting ready to start to start applying, and usually we gain a few drivers. So, and then if we do gain new drivers, we're going to add stops, and those will just be where they're needed the worst.
On those new drivers that we get there at the very last minute, are those guys and gals normally already licensed and ready to roll, or do you have to go through?
A lot of them will already have a license, but then we will have some that will have to go through all the training, and that takes a minimum of about 3 weeks.
A lot of our employees we've been hiring have already had CDLs, especially the coaches that are coming in. And the new coaches that we have been hiring, they're also obtaining.
Yeah. Okay. You guys have any questions on transportation? Okay. I'll do a construction update. So they have made a lot of progress on all of our construction sites. I know a lot of them you can see, just driving down the road, you can tell. So at Central, they've got a lot of the exterior boards on, all of the metal studs. This is the inside at Central, so they've done a lot of the pre-painting, and a lot of the sprayed-on fire insulation is on. They're starting interior walls on the inside. So the fire insulation on this one has slowed the job down a little bit, but they've been able to work on the exterior while they're spraying the fireproofing. That is the new Emma Road. They've done that cut, and they've actually got some curbs poured now in place. Right here, you're looking south. Emma is up where that excavator is setting. So they've,
This is our connection, no, it's not.
yeah, this is the connection to Emma. So they've actually put, you can't see it in this photo, but they put all the culverts in for that drainage. So once they get the curbs done, then they can pour the asphalt and make the cut into the new Emma Street. So they've made a lot of progress, and they've got the retention pond pretty much completed. They've got the gate valves in it, so.
They told you when the Emma cut through is gonna be done, or?
No, I haven't talked to them. I know they're getting close. They're pouring a lot of curbs and stuff right now, and usually that's right before they lay the asphalt, and then it's done.
I just need them to open up that other part of Emma.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of connections on that, so.
What's there? Give it back.
It's southwest. This is on the front side, so they're getting ready to start adding brick to the exterior. They've made a lot of progress over there. On the back, I don't know if you can tell, but toward the west side, toward Shiloh, they have a lot of the brick on there, and it's blonde brick, so I mean it matches very well. You know, they've got pretty much the exterior done. This is the east side, so it's one of the last ones that'll get the sheathing on it. And that's the interior. They've got a lot of the interior metal walls in place. They've done a rough grind on all the concrete. So they're making a lot of progress inside at Southwest. And we do have possession of the locker room. So we're putting in some rubber flooring, getting ready to hook up the washer and dryer this week, and then we'll be putting in the weight equipment. So we'll have it ready for the kids when they get ready for football. Springdale High School, they've got a lot of the block works done. So where that opening is will be a glass entrance for the lobby. And here's the east side of that. That'll have a lot of glass right there for that lobby also. This is the on the north side, so that's where you can walk out on the deck from the multipurpose room that faces the north on the football field. So they're getting a lot of that done. And we actually have polished concrete over there. I'm gonna go look at it in the morning. If it looks good, we're gonna approve it, and they'll start polishing all the floors on the inside. So they'll start polishing on the west side, and then they'll work their way around through that job. This is the locker rooms on the south side, so they've started those walls. Those will go up pretty quickly because they're you know, not that big of an area to complete.
Are those the home or the visitors, or do you know?
These will be P. I'm pretty sure these are PE. Yep. And then on the inside, they actually poured the concrete on all the stairs. They've got it now where you can actually walk up the stairs to get to the multipurpose room. And, you know, when you're on site up there, it really, you can tell how big that project is. So we're ordering furniture for this one. I know Alan worked with Mr. Jones today on furniture and some weight equipment. So we're on that phase here because we'll get this in February. So we're trying to get everything, orders placed, and so it'll show up right when we need it. George Elementary. So this is the front of George Elementary. And those new CMU walls, that's the interior. So those are interior walls. There'll be another set of CMU walls that go up on the outside of that to create the exterior. And then they'll put the bar joist on there and roof it, and then start in on the inside. This is what all the halls look like right now. We had to take out all of the ceiling tile, ceiling grid, and the contractors did all that because they had to get the sprinkler pipes in place. So they've got that underway right now. We have run into a little issue at George. That building doesn't have enough insulation, enough R factor to have sprinklers in the attic space. So we're getting ready to have to spray insulation from inside the hall up onto that ceiling structure.
We don't want them freezing.
No. No, we don't want any frozen pipes. So that's slowing the job down a little bit just because we weren't expecting that. And then on that one, our custodial crew went in and demoed the floor, and then we'll be going back in there. We're going to polish the concrete and stain it. So we're working on that, and I know Alan is going. They're going to finalize the colors and stuff with Mr. Swope tomorrow and Core to get ready to get all the halls completed before school starts. Here is the west side of the school, and right in front of that pickup, there was a set of restrooms right there. We demoed those out. Those will get rebuilt in a different location. And then they have the pad pretty much complete over there. They're going to start digging footings and pouring pads for the gym and the cafeteria and those two classrooms. So their hope is to get the footings and everything poured and have steel on site by the time school starts.
Pretty much we'll be able to tell that's not a brand new school.
Yeah, pretty much every inch of that school is going to get touched. So this summer on the interior, we're working on the hallways. All the hallways, all that work will get done. The trunk lines for the sprinklers will get installed. And then next summer, as soon as school gets out, we'll tear out all the ceilings in all the classrooms, all the carpet will go away, and then we'll tap onto those trunk lines and run sprinklers into every classroom. And then when we get all that done, we're gonna pretty much flip the kitchen. Serving line and the freezer and cooler are gonna switch locations. So when it's done, they'll actually serve out of the west side of the kitchen. So that's all planned for next summer.
The current dining space will be media center.
Yeah, the current dining, next summer, it'll get turned into media. And then the existing media center is gonna get split into 2 classrooms. So, yeah, they're gonna gain quite a bit more space, which they need. That's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
I think any one of those projects at any district will be a big project. And he just went through some significant projects. So Jeremy does a great job, the whole team does. We've got some great contractors. So
Yep, they're doing good. Thanks.
You and Alan actually do a great job. Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller's work, being the director of all things technology, he's really not thought of much until it doesn't work, and then when it doesn't work, he's thought of the first time. I think Mr. Bell may know something
I
about
think
that.
of Paul all the time.
Anyway, we thought it would be good to have Paul provide an update on all the processes that we are going through and other things that he'd like to talk about.
Yes, sir. So thank you, Dr. Cleveland, and good evening, board. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the summer projects we've got going on, and then high level. So this is the technology department. We're 14 strong right now. We lost 2 people to Walmart, which makes, 11 people that I've trained and given to Walmart over the years. So.
Don't feel bad, I trained one of those people.
Right. Yeah, so now we're taking from other people too. So
That's totally different.
So we've got 2 open positions currently. I've got 9 interviews scheduled for week after next to try and fill those 2 positions. So we're working to get those full. The majority of the work of our department is done by this, the workstation support group that really are the boots on the ground to handle stuff at the building level in partnership with our building technicians. So I'm very grateful for them and for the work that they do and for the whole team. We just, they do a ton of heavy lifting and behind the scenes work that, like Dr. Cleveland mentioned, doesn't get recognized until it doesn't work. So we're very grateful for them and for the hard work that they put into keeping an enterprise this large moving. So on that note, this last year we closed 22,379 tickets. So a ticket can be anything from, hey, my computer's not printing to the printer, or, hey, I left this laptop on top of my car and it fell off and got run over and now it needs to be replaced. So all kinds of things, that's what are included in tickets. And so we're proud to say we've got a 98% closure rate currently on our tickets. So my team works really hard to make sure that we take care of business and we get things done for the rest of the district. Our primary goal is to make sure that students have what they need to learn in the classroom. So
125 tickets a day that you guys are in school, that you guys are doing. So that's.
What happened to the 2%? Are they just like people's laptops are just on there smashed?
Just great job on the 98. What's wrong?
Right, right. The 2% are usually end up being like long-term projects or something that we're waiting to come back from shipping or things like that. So that's
Hold his feet to the fire.
right.
Serious, like somebody ran over the computer, too bad. That's the second time we're not
Right.
closing that out. You're not getting another one.
Does that new insurance policy cover that?
Right. So I just wanted to highlight a few summer projects we have. And as Dr. Smith mentioned, people ask us a lot of times, are you enjoying your relaxing summer since there's no kids in the building? But that's when my team really rolls up their team and goes to work, or rolls up their sleeves and goes to work. So this summer, we've replaced 12,000 Chromebooks, and I'll get into a little more detail in each of these here in just a second. 2 wireless LAN controllers, 1,700 access points. We're doing a major WAN upgrade with AT&T, and then Damon threw on a few vape detectors at the end to talk about as well. So just to get into a little more detail, the Chromebooks, so that project, the reason it's 12,000 is because we looked at the educational model and how things are kind of working in the district, and we'd scaled it back to kindergarten and first grade use iPads. But what we noticed during COVID, and anytime we do any kind of remote learning, what happens is if you've got kids in kindergarten and first grade, and then you've got kids in 5th grade or 6th grade, they're using 2 different devices. And so that presents a problem for some of our families if they're wanting to help students with homework, or if you want siblings to work together or anything like that. It just presented a problem. And then also with standardized testing is all done on Chromebooks. And so being able to support that in our district was important. And so as our iPads aged, we felt it was time to shift that to Chromebooks. So we have, starting next year, we'll have Chromebooks from kindergarten through 12th grade. So everybody will be using the same device to make things a lot easier when developing curriculum and as students move from grade to grade. It just eliminates, another thing that presents any kind of a barrier for student learning. And so we really felt that was important. And so we set an aggressive goal of doing 12,000 Chromebooks in 4 weeks, and they've all been delivered to all the schools. And we rewired a bunch of carts that used to have iPads in them, repurposed those for Chromebooks. And like I said, the workstation support team really did some heavy lifting on that. We brought in some of the building technicians to help with that, but that team really did some great work in making that happen. So we got all of that delivered. We're wrapping up loose ends on that project, but that was about 1,000 devices a day that we went through for that project. So that's project number 1. Project number 2 was our wireless project. So what we did is we had some aging wireless LAN controllers that we needed to replace, which they manage all of the wireless internet throughout the entire district. So we've got 2 devices that sit in our data center that manage all the wireless for the whole district. So those 2 devices, the new ones that we have, support 6,000 access points, 64,000 clients, and about 80 gigs of throughput, which should support us for the next 10 years moving forward. And so what we gained from this project was what I've got up there in bold, which is improved performance, visibility, load balancing, and coverage. And so I want to give a shout out to Josh Sizemore, who's our assistant director for technology for all the planning that he did on this project. He did the planning for this as part of his capstone for one of his college courses and won an award for the work that he did on this project. So it's pretty impressive. The vendor company that we worked with, Heartland Business Systems, had nothing but good things to say about the work that he did and how easy they made the planning that he did made their life. So this project was scheduled to start June 12th and be completed the first week in August. It's done already. So it was completed June 30th, due largely to his work on the project. So when they came in, everything was labeled, it was put where it was supposed to go. We had maps and documentation for everything. And so what we gained from this is something that looks like this, that gives us some pretty impressive visibility into what we have going on, where we've got all of our access points mapped out at all of our buildings so that we can see where things are happening and where problems are occurring and get pretty close to real-time information back for what we've got going on in the 40 some odd locations the district has. So it's a pretty impressive project, and it went off with very little complication, and we're able to get quite a bit of benefit from it. So it's been pretty good. So project number 3, we're upgrading all of our buildings that did not already have 10 gigs, which would be every building but our high schools, to have a 10 gig connection. And so what AT&T did for us is they were able to give us a scalable connection. And so this connection goes from 1 gig to 10 gig, depending on our needs. So during the summer, when we don't need to utilize it as much, we can scale that back to 1 gig, saving the district money. And then during high stakes testing or times of the year when things need to be adjusted, we can rate adjust that back up to that 10 gig. So it really gives us a flexible model to support student learning in all of our buildings. And I think it will make a big difference moving forward, especially with the implementation of more and more technology as we progress into the future. So we're really trying to look at ways to future-proof the district and plan for 10 years down the road and what we may need. And so we're very fortunate to have the means to put that in place now before we need it, so that when we need it, we're not scrambling to try and put it in place. And then last but not least is the vape sensors that we're putting in. We've received all the equipment. We're waiting for the wiring company to get these wired, but we have 155 of these that are going to be put throughout the district in strategic locations to identify issues where we may have problems, or we've identified places where we have problems or have had problems in the past, where hopefully we can eliminate some of that moving forward. So I know that was kind of quick, but if anybody has any questions about any of those, I'm happy to answer any questions that you
Your
may
opinion
have.
on all this, because I don't.
It all makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Well, you feel good about this.
So can kindergartners log into a PC?
They will log into a Chromebook. Currently, they log into their iPads. And we use Clever.
Log into their iPad, they don't scan a.
Well, they use a Clever badge, so they'll be able to do the same thing on a Chromebook.
They don't see that as a challenge.
No, I don't think it will be, and I think that it gives an opportunity for them to kind of learn the platform earlier, because a lot of times what we run into is kindergartners just starting out have only ever used a phone as a computing device. And so being able to introduce them to a Chromebook earlier prepares them for, 3rd grade when we start doing some testing and later. So it really gives them a head start in being comfortable with the platform and being able to use the devices that we have in place in later grades.
What do we do with all those iPads?
What's that?
What do we do with all those iPads?
Most of them are 5 years old anyway, so it's time for them to be life cycled. So we have a company that we use to recycle all that equipment to, and so they resell it in other parts of the world.
If you get kindergartners using the Chromebooks earlier, it'll cut down on the number of ticket requests later. They'll be helping with the
So they'll
tickets.
be working on
Right.
tickets.
By the time they're in high school, they'll be part of the team.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, you made all that sound really simple, and I know that is not simple at all. I just want to recognize you for your excellent work and your whole team, especially Simon, but your team's in great shape.
I'm merely the guy in charge of a fantastic group of people that do really amazing work. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent the work that they do.
Excellent, excellent.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, I'm perfectly okay if y'all want to take a moment to be sad that Kelly's not here tonight. Mr. Hayes,
I didn't even notice you were here.
Oh, I appreciate that. Okay. Feel better already.
You need to be crying at home now. I'm sure he's watching this.
He's not watching.
He's in Vermont looking at leaves.
Okay, we've got the financial statements were presented in your board packet. I want to go to the second page, but, you know, we ended about the same as last year. Revenue exceeded budget by approximately 2%. And I did want to note that on your page 2 of your revenue report, the far right column for 21-22 collected to date, the original one that was sent out to you Monday night was incorrect. I had it flagged so that I would remember to go back and pull that information from last year, and I still missed it. So we are right on about the same where we were last year with that. Our receipts were due in part, or our increase was due because of property tax. We also got some other state grants that we had not budgeted for, which is a good thing. So last year, we had budgeted 84 million was budgeted, and we received just shy of 87 million due to those continuing increase in assessments. Assessments did go up again for this coming year, so, you know, the theory is always budget revenue low, and our budget revenue low and expenses high, and you hope you come out better than you thought. So we'll continue to do that as we go forward. Expenditures, teacher salary fund was just a little bit slightly below our budget overall. Operating expenses, they were a little bit higher than previous year, but they're still under budget. We're still coding some expenses to period 13, which is kind of our little in-between period. We've done that the last few years, and we'll continue to do that. But we still believe we'll remain inside our budget amounts. Vocational education was a little bit over budget. We've been upgrading our program offerings this year. We've been able to get a lot of those equipment needs financed through or funded through ESSER. We were able to add a dozer and a track hoe, which I'm still a little bit stunned, but with Mr. Ellis's help, we were able to write a really strong proposal to the state.
They're using
Yeah, I'm excited for him.
children how to
Yes.
use track hoe and a bulldozer.
Fill those job opportunities we have up here, so.
Next month, right, Mr. Ellis?
That's right. And so we're still being able to effectively use our ESSER funds. We've got one more full year of that. So we'll be continuing to fund some salaries and things through that. Our anticipation is that we will not, in our last year, we'll just have half a year effectively with the liquidation obligation period. So would just be wrapping things up at that point. As a result of how we ended up for the year, Dr. Cleveland and I had a conversation on Monday night, and we decided to transfer $9 million to the building fund. We'll use that to offset the increased construction costs that we've kind of have been mentioned before with the Central Junior High project. We've got Southwest going, Springdale High School, and we also have the George Elementary building project. So that'll kind of help offset some of those. So, do y'all have any questions?
Part of that building fund, that transfer, is in order for us to do, like all the projects you're doing, with the partnership funds is to keep our millage at the same rate without having to ask our patrons for additional dollars. So our effort is to be very, very efficient. And I know Ms. Hopkins is doing that. Kelly did it wonderfully, and Ms. Hopkins is right on the same pathway. But this allows us to continue. So if someone looks at our accounts, we've got $9 million in building fund. Yeah, we do. We're doing that on purpose in order, so for future projects, we don't have to ask our voters for any additional millage.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the financials as presented.
All right, we have a, excuse me, a motion by Mrs. Creek and a second by Mr. Emerson to approve the financials as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Great job, first real time, right?
Is there anybody from SEA here? I don't see anybody from SEA. Do we have any, nobody signed up? Is there anything else, Dr. Cleveland, that we need to address?
No, sir, not that I'm aware. I don't see anything in.
Well, with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. All right, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
See you in a month, or a little over a month.
I just texted Kelly and said the best financial report I've ever heard.